Commander Lisa Mitchell stood at the window of Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. 50 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Confederation, but Earth's people remained treated like children among the stars. The door slid open behind her. John Harrison, her most trusted intelligence officer, walked in with a data pad clutched tightly in his hands. His face was pale, and his hand shook slightly. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Lisa turned from the window and took the pad. As she read through the decoded messages, her heart began to race. The data showed years of secret communications between the Zenturians and the Kraxon Empire, detailed plans about keeping humanity contained and controlled. "How did you get this?" she asked, scrolling through more documents. "Remember the damaged Zenturian ship we helped last week? Their computer systems were more open during the repairs than they realized. I found these files hidden deep in their archives." Lisa sat down at her desk, the weight of the discovery pressing down on her shoulders. For years, humans had wondered why their technological progress seemed to hit invisible walls. Now they knew why. The advanced alien races had been secretly blocking Earth's development, sabotaging their achievements, and manipulating their politics. She pressed a button on her desk. "Get me Director Walsh. Now." 20 minutes later, she stood in the Human Council's emergency chamber. The circular room held 30 seats, each filled by Earth's top military and civilian leaders. Director Peter Walsh sat at the head of the table, his gray hair neat and his blue uniform pristine. "What you're suggesting is very serious, Commander Mitchell," Walsh said, looking at the evidence displayed on the room's main screen. "If you're right, this means the Confederation has been lying to us since day one." "The evidence is clear, sir," Lisa replied. She pointed to several key messages. "The Zenturians and Kraxons have been working together to keep us down. They've placed spies in our research facilities. They've sabotaged our experiments. They even crashed our quantum computing project last year, the one that killed 12 of our best scientists." The room erupted in angry whispers. Dr. Samantha Cole, head of the Quantum Research Division, stood up. "I lost my whole team in that explosion. Are you saying it wasn't an accident?" "It wasn't," John Harrison said, stepping forward. He pulled up more files on the screen. They saw how close we were getting to a breakthrough. The Kraxons planted the explosive device themselves. Director Walsh raised his hand for silence. "The question is, what do we do about this? We can't openly accuse them. The Confederation would crush us." Lisa straightened her shoulders. "Sir, I believe we've been preparing for this moment without even knowing it. Remember Project Phoenix?" Walsh's eyes widened. Project Phoenix was Earth's secret military development program, hidden in the asteroid belt. For years, they had been building ships and weapons away from the Confederation's prying eyes, claiming the facilities were for mining operations. "How many ships do we have ready?" Walsh asked. Admiral Chris Bennett spoke up from his seat. 327 combat-ready vessels, sir. All with our latest tech. We've been testing them in the asteroid belt, away from the alien sensors. They're not as advanced as Confederation ships, but they're our own design. No backdoors, no hidden weaknesses they might know about. Lisa pulled up a star map. "We've also been quietly building bases here, and here." She pointed to several spots in nearby star systems. "The aliens think they're civilian research stations. They're actually fully equipped military bases, ready for action." Walsh stood up and walked to the window. The massive Confederation Embassy Tower loomed in the distance, its crystal spires gleaming in the setting sun. "All this time," he said quietly, "we thought they were helping us reach the stars. Instead, they were making sure we never flew too high." He turned back to the council. "It's time to make a decision. Do we keep playing their game, or do we show them what humanity is really capable of?" The room was silent for a long moment. Then Dr. Cole spoke up. "Those aliens killed my team. They've been killing our dreams since they arrived. I say we fight. One by one, the council members nodded in agreement. Walsh looked at Lisa. Commander Mitchell, how soon can we be ready? Give me 48 hours to alert our sleeper agents throughout Confederation space. We'll need them in place when we make our move. You have 24, Walsh said. We can't risk them finding these files and realizing we know the truth. Admiral Bennett, begin moving our hidden fleet into position. Dr. Cole, get your quantum research team ready. We'll need every advantage we can get. Lisa felt her pulse quicken. After 50 years of being treated like children, humanity was about to show the galaxy they had grown up, and they weren't happy with their babysitters. As the council members filed out to begin preparations, John Harrison caught up with Lisa in the hallway. Do you think we can really do this? Take on the whole Confederation? Lisa stopped and looked at him. You know what the aliens never understood about humans, John. We don't like being told what we can't do. In fact, that's the surest way to make us do something. She smiled. And we're about to prove that to the entire galaxy. In the next 24 hours, Earth's hidden strength began to move. Deep in the asteroid belt, hundreds of ships powered up their engines. In secret bases across nearby star systems, weapons came online. And throughout Confederation space, human agents received coded messages that made them smile. The aliens had spent 50 years making sure humanity didn't climb too high. They never considered that humanity might have been building its own ladder all along. As Lisa prepared her command center for what was coming, she looked again at the sunset. Tomorrow, the sun would rise on a very different galaxy. The aliens thought they knew everything about humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In her office at the Quantum Research Facility, Dr. Cole worked through the night, checking and rechecking her calculations. The aliens had tried to stop their quantum shield research, but they hadn't found all the hidden labs. Now that research might give Earth's ships the edge they needed. Admiral Bennett moved between holographic displays in the Fleet Command Center, coordinating the silent movement of hundreds of ships. Each vessel had to move carefully, using the asteroid belt for cover, making sure no Confederation sensors picked them up. And in his office atop the Human Council building, Director Walsh wrote a message. It would be broadcast to every human colony and shipped the moment they began their strike. The first lines read, "For 50 years, we thank them for lifting us to the stars. Today, we learned they were actually holding us down. That ends now." The pieces were in place. In 24 hours, the galaxy would learn that humanity had outgrown its cage, and they weren't asking for permission to break free. They were taking their freedom back. Admiral Chris Bennett couldn't sleep. In 6 hours, humanity would start the biggest fight in its history. He stood in the command center of Operation Phoenix's main base, hidden deep inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Around him, crews worked quietly at their stations, preparing for what was coming. "Admiral, the EDF Artemis is requesting permission to launch," a young officer said. Bennett nodded. The Artemis was their newest ship, commanded by Captain Laura Nash. It carried humanity's best weapons and strongest shields. They would need every advantage in the coming battle. "Tell Captain Nash she has clearance," Bennett said. "But remind her to stay in the asteroid belt's shadow. We can't risk the Centurions spotting her yet." On the main screen, hundreds of green dots showed Earth's hidden fleet. Each dot represented a ship built in secret, crewed by people who had trained for years without knowing exactly why. Now they knew. The door slid open, and Chief Science Officer Samantha Cole walked in. She carried a small black box in her hands. "Is that it?" Bennett asked. Cole nodded. "The quantum shield generator. Small enough to fit in your hand, powerful enough to stop a Craxon-heavy laser." She placed the box carefully on a table. "We've made 50 of them. The Artemis gets the first one. Will they work?" "They already do. We tested them last night. The aliens tried to stop this research because they knew what it meant." She smiled. "We can finally protect ourselves from their biggest weapons." An alarm suddenly blared through the base. Red lights flashed on the main screen. "Report," Bennett shouted. "Sir, 3 Kraxon warships just jumped into the Mars orbit." An officer called out, "They're attacking our diplomatic station." Bennett's blood ran cold. "Get me Director Walsh." The screen split, showing Walsh's face. He looked like he hadn't slept either. "We've got reports coming in from across the system," Walsh said. "The Kraxons just killed 3 of our diplomats. They know something's wrong." "How?" "We've been so careful. It doesn't matter now. We're out of time." Walsh's face was grim. "Admiral Bennett, you have new orders. Operation Phoenix launches now." Bennett turned to his crew. "Send the signal to all ships. Authentication code, Rising Storm." Across the asteroid belt, hidden ships began powering up their engines. In bases throughout nearby star systems, weapon systems came online. And throughout Confederation space, human agents like Kevin Martinez began their carefully planned missions. Kevin sat in his office on the Confederation capital station, looking perfectly calm as he typed commands into his computer. Around him, alien officials rushed about in confusion, trying to understand why their systems were suddenly failing. "Must be a power problem," he told his Centurion supervisor with a helpful smile. The supervisor nodded gratefully, not realizing that Kevin had just disabled the station's main defense grid. Back in the Phoenix base, Bennett watched as the first wave of Earth ships emerged from hiding. The Artemis led the way, its new quantum shields glowing softly. "Sir," an officer called out. "Captain Nash reports all systems ready. The Centurion suppression fleet is still in position above Earth. They don't see us coming." "Good," Bennett said. "Tell all ships, weapons free. Today we show them what humanity can really do." The battle began moments later. Earth's ships struck from multiple directions at once, catching the Centurion fleet by surprise. The aliens had always seen humans as primitive, believing their ships would be easy to destroy. They were wrong. The Artemis flew straight at the Centurion command ship, taking heavy fire. But Dr. Cole's quantum shields held strong. Captain Nash's voice came over the command channel. "Shields at 90%. Their weapons can't touch us." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, using tactics they had practiced for years. Ships darted between asteroids, firing from unexpected angles. The Centurions tried to form defensive positions, but they were too slow. Multiple Centurion ships destroyed. The tactical officer reported, "No casualties on our side yet. The quantum shields are working." But the element of surprise wouldn't last forever. Bennett knew they needed to strike harder, faster. "Get me Kevin Martinez," he ordered. Kevin's face appeared on screen. Behind him, aliens ran in panic as more systems failed across the Confederation capital station. "Ready here, Admiral. Just say the word." "Do it." Kevin pressed a final button. Throughout Confederation space, hidden computer viruses activated. Defense systems crashed. Communication networks went dark. The mighty Confederation suddenly found itself blind and deaf. On Earth, Director Walsh began broadcasting his message to every human colony and ship. "For too long, they kept us down. Today we rise. Today, humanity takes its rightful place among the stars." The Kraxon ships near Mars tried to call for help, but found their communications blocked. Earth's hidden fleet in that sector emerged from the shadows, surrounding them. "Surrender or be destroyed," the human ships transmitted. The Kraxons, famous for their pride, chose to fight. It was a short battle. In her lab, Dr. Cole watched the sensor readings from the quantum shields with satisfaction. Decades of secretly working on this technology had paid off. The aliens' most powerful weapons couldn't breach humanity's defenses. "Send the shield specs to all our ships," she told her team. It's time everyone had this protection. As the first hour of battle ended, humanity had already achieved more than the aliens thought possible. The Centurion suppression fleet was in ruins. The Kraxon attack force was destroyed. And across Confederation space, Human agents had paralyzed the aliens' ability to respond. But Bennett knew this was just the beginning. The real war would start when the main Confederation forces arrived. "Status report," he called out. "All primary objectives achieved, sir. Minimal casualties. The quantum shields exceeded expectations, but we're detecting multiple Confederation battle fleets preparing to jump into the system." Bennett nodded. Phase 1 had worked perfectly. Now came the hard part. "Send word to all ships," he ordered. "Form up on the Artemis. Prepare for Phase 2. He looked at the tactical display, where more enemy signals were appearing. "Let's show the galaxy that humanity is done being pushed around." In the Artemis's command chair, Captain Nash watched her crew prepare for the next wave of battle. The aliens had spent 50 years trying to keep humanity weak. They were about to learn just how strong humans could be when they worked together. The real war was about to begin. Dr. Andrew Phillips sat in his dimly lit control room, surrounded by screens showing battles across the galaxy. His hands moved quickly over the controls as he directed hundreds of AI combat drones. The aliens never knew humans had developed such advanced artificial intelligence. "Target locked on Confederation Defense Station," one of his assistants called out. "A swarm ready to launch." "Send them in," Andrew ordered. On his main screen, he watched as 500 small drones rushed toward the massive alien station. The Confederation ships tried to shoot them down, but the drones moved too quickly, changing direction in ways that seemed impossible. The station's shields flickered and died as the drones overwhelmed them. Within minutes, another Confederation stronghold fell to Earth's forces. Across the galaxy, similar battles were taking place. Humanity had launched attacks on every major Confederation installation at once. The aliens were struggling to respond, shocked by the humans' level of coordination and technology. On the bridge of the EDF Artemis, Captain Laura Nash watched as her ship led the attack on the most important target yet, the Zenturian Command Center at Alpha Centauri. This was the base from which the aliens had directed their secret campaign to keep humanity down for 50 years. "Multiple enemy ships approaching," her tactical officer reported. "They're trying to surround us." Laura smiled. "Activate the quantum shields. Show them what Earth can do." The Artemis flew straight into the enemy formation. Alien weapons fire splashed harmlessly against the quantum shields. Laura's crew had trained for this moment for years, and it showed in how smoothly they worked together. "Enemy ships breaking formation," someone called out. "They can't penetrate our defenses." In another part of the galaxy, Strategic Officer Mary Roberts coordinated with human colonies that had been secretly preparing for this day. She sat in a hidden command center, sending coded messages to resistance forces. "Colony Group 7, you're clear to begin," she transmitted. "Take control of their supply lines." Across dozens of worlds, humans who had seemed like peaceful settlers revealed themselves as trained soldiers. They captured spaceports, communication centers, and supply depots. The aliens had never suspected that every human colony was actually a military base in disguise. Back on Earth, Commander Lisa Mitchell received an unexpected message. A Zenturian scientist named Zixtal wanted to defect. "Why should we trust you?" Lisa asked over a secure channel. "Because I've seen how my people treated yours," Zixtal replied. "It was wrong. And I'm not the only one who thinks so. Many younger Zenturians disagree with the old leader's policies. This was something no one had expected. Aliens wanting to help humanity." Lisa brought the matter to Director Walsh and the Human Council. "If there are aliens who support our cause, we should work with them," Walsh decided. "This isn't about revenge. It's about making a better galaxy for everyone." Meanwhile, the battle at Alpha Centauri reached its peak. The Artemis and its battle group had pushed through the enemy defenses, reaching the main Zenturian command station. "This is Captain Nash to all ships," Laura broadcast. "Target the station's power core. Let's end this." Earth's ships attacked as one, their weapons finally breaking through the weakened alien defenses. The massive station began to break apart, its destruction sending a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity would no longer be controlled. But the war was far from over. As Dr. Phillips directed his AI drones in another battle, he noticed something interesting on his screens. "Sir," he called to Admiral Bennett, "other species are joining the fight on our side." It was true. Across Confederation space, other races that had been kept down by the Zenturians and Kraxans saw their chance. They began rising up, inspired by humanity's example. A message came in from a species called the Narration. "We watched how humans refused to stay weak. You showed us we don't have to accept their control either." The Confederation was splitting apart as more races chose sides. Some stayed loyal to the old powers, but others saw a chance for freedom and took it. Strategic Officer Roberts worked quickly to coordinate with these new allies. "If we work together," she told them, "we can create a galaxy where no species tries to control another." The Artemis, fresh from its victory at Alpha Centauri, received new orders. They were to help a group of rebelling aliens take control of a major supply hub. "The galaxy is changing," Laura told her crew as they set course. "And we're the ones changing it." In his control room, Dr. Phillips watched as his AI drones protected a group of rebel alien ships. The same technology that the Confederation had tried to stop humans from developing was now helping others break free. Commander Mitchell met with Zixtal and other alien defectors, learning valuable information about Confederation weaknesses. The aliens were surprised by how willing humans were to work with them, despite everything that had happened. "We thought your species would want revenge," Zixtal said. "We want justice," Lisa replied, "and a chance to build something better than what came before." As the third day of revolution ended, humanity had achieved more than anyone thought possible. The Confederation was crumbling, new allies were joining the fight, and the galaxy was transforming. But in deep space, the main Kraxan fleet was gathering. They would not let their power slip away easily. The hardest battles were still to come. Director Walsh called a meeting of the Human Council to prepare for what was next. "We've shown them our strength," he said. "Now we need to show them our wisdom. The galaxy needs a new way forward, and humanity will help create it." As night fell on Earth, millions looked up at the stars. For the first time in 50 years, they weren't seeing distant lights they couldn't reach. They were seeing humanity's future, a future they would shape with their own hands. The revolution had truly begun, and there was no turning back. Lieutenant Paul Carter crouched in the shadows of an abandoned space station, his heart beating fast. After weeks of dangerous undercover work, he had finally found what humanity needed: the location of the Kraxam superweapon facility. He carefully activated his hidden transmitter, sending the coordinates back to Earth. The facility was hidden inside a dead star, protected by the strongest shields in the galaxy. But Paul had also discovered something else, a weakness in those shields. Back on Earth, engineer Susan Wright was working on a different kind of problem. The Kraxans had started using psychic attacks against human ships, trying to drive their crews insane during battles. "It's like they're reaching into our minds," a wounded captain had told her. "We can't fight what we can't see." Susan hadn't slept for 3 days, but she finally had an answer. She looked at the small device on her workbench, a psychic shield generator that could protect human minds from alien attacks. "Test it," she told her assistant. They activated the device just as a Kraxan prisoner tried to use his psychic powers. The alien's attack hit the shield and bounced away harmlessly. Susan smiled. "Send these to every ship in the fleet. The Kraxans won't be able to hurt our people anymore." Meanwhile, Major Daniel Cooper led his Special Forces team on their most important mission yet. Their target was a secret meeting of high-ranking Confederation leaders on a luxury space station. "Remember," he told his team, "we want them alive. They need to answer for what they've done to humanity." Daniel's team moved silently through the station's air vents. Below them, alien leaders discussed how to crush the human rebellion. They had no idea that humans were right above them. "Now," Daniel whispered. His team dropped from the ceiling, using stun weapons to quickly capture the alien leaders. Within 5 minutes, they had taken control of the station without firing a single lethal shot. "This is Cooper," he radioed back to command. "Package secured. You won't believe what we found in their files." The files proved everything. Decades of plans to keep humanity weak, lists of sabotaged human projects, and names of humans who had been secretly killed to stop Earth's progress. Now they had proof to show the whole galaxy. Commander Lisa Mitchell worked with Zixtal, the Zenturian scientist who had joined humanity's cause, to analyze the captured files. "Your people never understood humans," Zixtal said. "They thought keeping humans down would make them give up. Instead, it made them stronger." Lisa nodded. "We used every limitation as a challenge to overcome. Every block they put in our way became a puzzle to solve." The biggest battle was about to begin. The Kraxun Empire had gathered its entire fleet at the Orion Arm, preparing to crush the human revolution once and for all. Admiral Bennett called all ship captains for a meeting on the Artemis. "This is it," he told them. "Everything we fought for comes down to this battle." Captain Laura Nash spoke up. "The Kraxuns think their numbers will overwhelm us, but they don't know about our new weapons." She was right. Paul Carter's discovery of the superweapon facility's weakness had led to a plan. Dr. Phillips' A-drones would strike the facility first, shutting down the Kraxun's most powerful weapon before the main battle began. Susan Wright's psychic shields would protect their crews from mental attacks, and Daniel Cooper's captured evidence would be broadcast to every ship in the Confederation fleet, showing them the truth about their leaders. The battle began at dawn, Earth time. Thousands of ships filled the space around the Orion Arm. The Kraxun fleet was massive, but they weren't alone anymore. Humanity had allies now, other species who had joined their fight for freedom. "All ships engage quantum shields," Laura ordered from the Artemis. The human fleet glowed with protective energy as they moved forward. The Kraxuns struck first, launching waves of fighters and capital ships. But humanity was ready. A-drones swarmed between the bigger ships, causing chaos in the enemy formation. Susan's psychic shields blocked the Kraxun mental attacks, leaving their psychic warriors useless. Deep inside the Dead Star, Paul Carter's intelligence helped a strike team navigate to the superweapons control center. They planted charges at the exact weak point he had discovered. Charges set, the team leader reported, clearing the facility now. The explosion was visible across the entire battlefield. The Kraxun superweapon facility collapsed in on itself, taking their greatest advantage with it. At that moment, Daniel Cooper's team broadcast the captured files to every ship in range. Alien crews saw proof of their leaders' lies and corruption. Some ships immediately stopped fighting. Others turned their weapons on the Kraxun command ships. The battle raged for hours. The Artemis led a daring attack run that broke through the enemy's defensive line. Earth's quantum shields proved stronger than anything the Kraxuns had expected. "Push forward," Admiral Bennett ordered. "Show them humanity's true strength." Dr. Phillips directed his AI drones in complex patterns, cutting off enemy escape routes. Susan's psychic shields saved countless lives as the Kraxuns tried desperately to use their mental powers. Finally, the Kraxun fleet began to retreat. Ships jumped away in groups, leaving their leaders behind. The great empire that had helped keep humanity down for so long was breaking apart. "This is Commander Mitchell to all ships," Lisa broadcast. "The Kraxun fleet is running. The Orion Arm is ours." Cheers erupted across the human fleet, but Lisa knew this victory meant more than just winning a battle. It proved that humanity could stand against the greatest powers in the galaxy and win. In the aftermath, Zixtal approached Lisa with news from his contacts. "More species are declaring their independence from the Confederation. Your victory here has changed everything." The captured Confederation leaders were brought to Earth for trial. The evidence against them was clear: years of crimes against humanity and other species. "The galaxy will never be the same," Director Walsh told the Human Council. Now we have to make sure we build something better than what came before. As the sun set on the day of their greatest victory, humanity looked to the stars with new eyes. They had proved themselves not just in battle, but in their willingness to help others break free from oppression. The war wasn't over yet, but after the Battle of the Orion Arm, everyone knew that humanity would never be seen as a weak, primitive species again. They had earned their place among the stars, and they would make sure no one ever tried to hold them down again. Admiral Chris Bennett stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the massive fleet gathered before him. Human ships flew alongside vessels from a dozen different alien species. Together, they were approaching the Confederation capital world for the final battle of the war. "Status report," he called out. "All ships in position, sir," his officer replied. "Dr. Cole's quantum shields are at full power. The Allied fleet is ready." The last stronghold of the old Confederation lay ahead. After their defeat at the Orion Arm, the Kraxon Empire had retreated here, joining forces with the remaining loyal Confederation ships for one final stand. On the science deck, Dr. Samantha Cole worked frantically to boost the quantum shields even further. She knew the enemy would throw everything they had at them. "The shields are holding at 200% capacity," she reported. "Whatever they try, we'll be ready." Suddenly, alarms blared across the fleet. Long-range sensors showed something massive jumping into the system. "Multiple Kraxon dreadnoughts detected," the sensor officer shouted. "They're on a direct course for Earth." Bennett's blood ran cold. While the Allied fleet attacked the capital, the Kraxons planned to destroy humanity's homeworld. He quickly opened a channel to Captain Laura Nash on the Artemis. "Laura, take your battle group and stop those dreadnoughts. Earth's defenses won't hold against that much firepower." "Already moving, Admiral," Laura replied. The Artemis and its escort ships broke formation, racing to intercept the Kraxon attack force. Meanwhile, Commander Lisa Mitchell coordinated with their alien allies from the command center on Earth. The screens showed the Kraxon ships approaching, their weapons charged for a planet-killing strike. "All Earth defense stations, prepare for incoming," she ordered. Civilian shelters are now locked down. The Artemis reached the Kraxon fleet first. Captain Nash knew they were outnumbered, but they had something the aliens didn't: the willingness to sacrifice everything to protect their home. "All hands," she announced to her crew. "Those ships do not reach Earth, whatever it takes." The battle erupted in space. The Artemis and its escorts fought desperately against the larger Kraxon ships. Dr. Cole's quantum shields glowed bright as they absorbed hit after hit. Back at the Confederation capital, Admiral Bennett led the main attack. The combined human and alien fleet struck from all sides, their weapons finally breaking through the capital's defenses. "This is Bennett to all ships," he broadcast. "Push forward. We end this today." But near Earth, the situation was getting desperate. The Artemis's shields were failing under the constant Kraxon assault. 2 escort ships had already been destroyed. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Someone shouted on the Artemis bridge. "Shields down to 15%. Captain Nash looked at her tactical display. The Kraxon dreadnoughts were still trying to push past them toward Earth. She made a decision. "All power to engines," she ordered. "Plot a collision course with their lead ship." "Captain," her first officer protested. "That's suicide." "That's an order," Laura said firmly. "Get the rest of the crew to the escape pods." The Artemis turned, its engines burning bright, as it aimed straight for the largest Kraxon ship. The enemy tried to turn away, but they were too slow. "For Earth," Laura whispered as the Artemis slammed into the Kraxon dreadnought. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The Kraxon fleet's formation broke apart. The remaining human escorts seized their chance, striking at the confused enemy ships. On Earth, Lisa watched with tears in her eyes as the Artemis's sacrifice saved their world. "Get rescue ships to those escape pods," she ordered. "Bring our people home." At the Confederation capital, the news of the Artemis' last stand inspired the Allied fleet to fight harder. Ships from every free species pressed their attack, determined to end the war that had cost so many lives. The capital's defenses finally collapsed. Admiral Bennett led the final assault himself, capturing the Confederation leadership. The war that had started with humanity breaking free from alien control was over. In the days that followed, representatives from all species gathered on Earth. The old Confederation was gone. It was time to build something new. Director Walsh stood before the assembly, his voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We fought this war not just for humanity's freedom, but for every species that was held back and controlled. Now we have a chance to create a galaxy where no one stands above another. The Human Council worked with their alien allies to write a new galactic charter of equal rights. Every species would have an equal voice. No one would be allowed to suppress another's development. Commander Mitchell was surprised when she was nominated to become the first Supreme Commander of the Reformed Confederation. Why me? She asked the alien representatives. Because humans showed us that standing up against oppression was possible, a Narixi leader replied. And because you fought not for revenge, but for justice. Lisa accepted the role, promising to make sure the new confederation would be different from the old one. Her first act was to create a program helping developing species advance without interference or control. Dr. Cole's quantum shield technology was shared with all member species. Paul Carter and Susan Wright worked with alien scientists to combine their different technologies in new ways. The boundaries that had been used to keep species apart were now being used to bring them together. On a quiet evening, Admiral Bennett stood with Director Walsh in the Memorial Garden, created to honor those lost in the war. The Artemis crew had their own special monument, with Captain Laura Nash's name at the top. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Bennett asked. "Starting this war?" Walsh looked up at the stars, where ships from a dozen species now flew freely together. "We didn't start it," he said. "They started it 50 years ago, when they decided to keep humanity down. We just finished it." A group of young alien students walked past them, heading to Earth's new Galactic Technology Institute. Humans were teaching them things the old Confederation had tried to keep secret. In return, the aliens shared their own knowledge freely. "That's what we fought for," Walsh said, pointing to the students. "A galaxy where everyone can reach their full potential." The war had changed everything. Humanity had proved itself not just through fighting, but through their willingness to help others once the fighting was done. They had turned their revolution into something greater, a new beginning for all species. As night fell on Earth, the stars seemed brighter than ever before. They were no longer distant lights that humanity wasn't allowed to reach. They were beacons of a future where every species could fly as high as their dreams could take them. The age of suppression was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and humanity would make sure it stayed that way.